Call to order the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Jebin Singh.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
McMurtry.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Moran.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
And Ortega.
Aye. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Land acknowledgement, Commissioner Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Every community owes its existence and vitality to the generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in a hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We are standing on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people. We want to acknowledge the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk, and the other nations of people who also call this place home. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the treaties made by the tribal nations that entitle non-Native people to live and work on traditional Native lands. Consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the agenda of February 10th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Zhang.
Aye.
Jebin Singh.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McMurtry.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Moran.
Aye.
And Ortega.
Aye. We'll entertain a motion on the minutes of February 3rd, 2026.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Zhang.
Aye.
Jebin Singh.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McMurtry.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Moran.
Aye.
And Ortega.
Aye. Administrative agenda, Commissioner Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move item number 3, the 8th amended joint powers agreement of the Ramsey County Violent Crime Enforcement Team. Item number 4, the joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for participation in the Violent Crime Reduction Unit.
I'd like to pull that one.
Okay. Item number 5, the joint powers agreement with Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for participation in the Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force. And then item number 6, the 2026 Capital Improvement Program Bond Series 2026A awarding sale. May I get a second, please?
Pull.
Oh,
You want 6 polls?
Yeah, we have to pull it.
Yeah, I'll pull it.
Yeah, thank you.
Who's pulling that?
I'll pull it since we need to talk about it.
may I get a second,
Second.
please? Thank you.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Zhang.
Aye.
Jebin Singh.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McMurtry.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Moran.
Aye.
And Ortega.
Aye. Item number 4, Commissioner Singh.
I'd like to move the joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for participation in the Violent Crime Reduction Unit, and I would,
Second.
and then I would love to have a representative from the Sheriff's Office just describe in general the agreements that are presented in today's RBA.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Under Sheriff Mike Martin from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. I oversee the Regional Services and Apprehension Division, which includes the items that are on the agenda today. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. First, I'll give you asked about the Violent Crime Reduction Unit at the BCA. We currently have one deputy who's assigned there. He's part of a multi-jurisdictional task force that's overseen by the BCA. Their focus is on the most violent offenders in the Twin Cities area. That gives us a couple advantages when we have shootings or murders or serious violent crimes. It allows us to use other agents from other departments across the metro area and collaborate to identify, to investigate, and to apprehend those individuals. The grant that we receive from them is to offset the cost of our deputy who's assigned there as personnel, fringe, benefits, all that stuff, as well as they provide a vehicle and all the equipment that the deputy needs.
Great. How long have we been in these type of agreements, and what do you think has been the outcome of having these kind of collaborative agreements in place?
That particular agreement, we've been in 2 years. 2024. Since 2024. It was a response to an increase in violent crime at the time. There was a lot of pressure on the state and the BCA to get involved in more active investigations other than just their force team and their narcotics folks. This was specifically for going after the most violent individuals. They've done a tremendous job. I can tell you every morning our deputy who's assigned lets me know what they're working on that day, and it's primarily murderers, shooters, and apprehending folks that are from other jurisdictions but are in, that have committed crimes in other jurisdictions but are in our county.
Great. And then because these are agreements that we have with other interjurisdictional, is there, given the situation that we're in right now with Operation Metro Surge, does any of this have to do with immigration enforcement at all?
Not at all. They, as a matter of fact, we have very clear expectations of our staff that if they're ever asked to be involved in immigration-related activities, that they're not to take part, and they need to let us know right away. This unit does not do any kind of immigration enforcement, and as well as any of our units, our violent crime enforcement team as well that was on the agenda, and our human trafficking folks.
Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the other side of that question, would this unit be involved in any investigations of potential unlawful acts committed by federal immigration agents?
They have not been asked to do that yet. However, because they work under the auspices of the BCA, if they were asked, I'm assuming they would assist. Quite frankly, we have deputies that are assisting on at least one case right now that are not part of this unit, but I'm assuming that they might get asked to, although the BCA has a separate unit called the Force Unit that investigates officers or agents' use of force. They're the ones who are now helping with the investigation as much as they can with the 2 shootings in Minneapolis.
And then just finally, I have to say, I know I'm known for getting into the weeds a little bit. I was reading into the contract, and on pages of our packet, page 29 and 30, there's an extensive list of professional expectations and understandings of how the law enforcement members who are entering into this agreement will comport themselves and hold each other responsible to a high level of policing standards. And I just want to say I appreciate that is part of these types of agreements to make sure that you continue to reach high in excellence and professionalism in public safety.
Thank you. I appreciate your recognizing that, because we pick, quite frankly, the best of the best investigators to be involved in these units, and we expect them to act in a professional manner and respect the public, and that's Yeah, I know a lot of times people are concerned about how law enforcement does their job, but these are folks that we trust to do that in a, what's the word I'm looking for, but where we're not overseeing them constantly. They work for supervisors that are out there that are also of a very high standard. And if there was ever an issue, I'd be the first one to call Drew Evans from the BCA and address it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your having us.
Okay, let's move on to item. Oh, roll call.
Zhang,
Aye.
Jabin Singh,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
McMurtry,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Moran, and Ortega.
Aye. Item number 6.
Move that, Mr. Chair. I will move
Second.
the bond, let's see, where is it? It's the 2026 Capital Improvement Program Bond Series, 2026, awarding the sale. And I think we want to get we'd like to get a small presentation on what that involves. Thank you.
Second.
Welcome.
Good morning, Board Chair Ortega and Board of Commissioners, and good morning, County Manager Becca. My name is Jeanette Boyd-Kania. I'm the Division Director for Treasury, and today I'm pleased to share some exciting updates on our recent bond sales that happened yesterday. And before we do that, I just want to look back on how we got here. A couple more months ago, around September, we came to the board to seek approval for the issuance of $31.5 million in bonds to support projects identified in the Capital Improvement Plan, and as well as the replacement of the ERP system. This process takes about 6 months, and we've been to the board a couple times, and including holding a public hearing. As part of this process, we conducted presentations with the rating agencies. The rating agencies evaluate our creditworthiness, and I'm proud to report that Ramsey County has maintained its AAA rating from both S&P and Moody's. This year's rating was especially memorable. It was held in person, and it was one of the most successful we've had yet, at least since I've been here. The representatives from the firms came from Chicago, and we had an opportunity to showcase the county. We highlighted current projects and discussed future initiatives. The feedback we received was great. I want to extend my appreciation to many people that were part of this process of the bond insurance and presentations to the rating agencies. First, I want to sincerely thank our fierce leader, Alex Kutzer, here. She's a Ramsey County resident. She brought a strong local perspective and shared so much about St. Paul that I didn't even know myself. Especially thankful to Mike Pascalini for driving us around on a snowy Minnesota day. It was really cold and very snowy, but we managed to go through. To the finance budget team that put together the CIP projects that are funded by this bond issuance. Also want to thank our county assessor, Patrick Chapman, who shared a lot about how the taxes impact the residents and the projects. And also CED, Josh and Kerry, who's here, who shared a lot about the projects that are ongoing. Would like to also thank the Accounting Division Director, Dan Reckler, the Auditor, Tracy West, and to the Chief's Clerk's Office for being patient with us as we go through this process. A special thank you to our board chair, who this year was part of the presentation, and our county manager, Becca, too, who shared the mission and vision of our county. And I will be remiss if I did not recognize Linda Sutton, who keeps us organized, keeps us on time, prepares all the paperwork, and is here today. So I'd like her to be recognized for all her work. So Linda, thank you. And also grateful for our bond counsel, Kotak Rock LLP, who keep us within the legal perspective, and our municipal advisors at Becca Tilly, who will be sharing the details and the results of the bond sale shortly. We have Elizabeth Bergman here, and we have Abigail, and Steve is not here today, but they all really support us during this whole process. And finally, thank you to the board for your continued support of the work we do for the residents of Ramsey County. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to have Elizabeth come forward and share the results of our bond sale.
Thank you, Jeanette. Good morning, Chair Ortega, Commissioners, and Administrator Becker. I'm so pleased to be with you today to talk about the bond sale. I have to say, I think I always come here with good news, and I think this is the best news yet, frankly. It was just really a great sale. Jeanette talked really well, or not, spoke well, talked really well, doesn't make sense, about the rating visit that we had and really positive feedback, and that resulted in interest cost savings for you all. Those two AAAs resulted in 13 bids on your bonds. I think that's as many as we've had in I don't know how long. It's been a long time. For a true interest rate of 3.04%. That's considerably below what we had anticipated when we first structured the bonds. We were expecting more like 3.5 or a little over. And then we always reassess as we get closer to the bond sale. At the end of last week, we thought we were going to be something more like 3.25. So that number of bidders really made a difference in getting that interest rate low. Those two AAAs also supported it. And the Moody's ratings reports that grew out of those rating visits were very strong. S&P said to us on the phone, not in the report, unfortunately, but they did say to us on the phone that Ramsey County is one of the strongest AAAs in their portfolio. Moody's did say in the report, they mentioned consistently healthy financial profile with strong liquidity and strong budgeting practices, and that the long-term liabilities were low. So some really positive information back in the market. So those low bids result in debt service costs, and I'm happy to take any questions you all might have.
Commissioner Singh?
Assuming that there are many people who do not do what you do every day or ever,
Yeah.
In real dollars, what does that debt savings cost mean to the county and its ability to finance its capital investments?
Yeah. So I can get you a number of what it means for dollars. I don't have the exact number of the savings. And in fact, in the process, we get the bids and then we make some adjustments. We do some massaging based on the bids about what the projects need and some things like that. So there were some adjustments where it's an apples to apples comparison is a little imperfect. But I think it was probably in the neighborhood of $100,000 a year would be my guess. Don't quote me on that, and we can follow up with the actual dollars.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to the rating meetings. I think that meant a lot, and your knowledge and history of the county was impressive to them indeed. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say for the public watching and just to remind all of us, we get so used to having a AAA bond rating that I think we have to be careful not to take it for granted, because not every county, I mean, very few counties continue to get a AAA bond rating like we do. And so do you have an idea of how many? I mean, I just know that we are really fortunate in the way that we, of course, have amazing people that keep up our county, that we are able to get these AAA bond ratings. But not very many counties get to keep this up like this, right?
I believe it's approximately 50 counties that have two AAAs across the country.
In the country, 50 in the country out of
Yeah.
3,069, I'll just say,
Yeah.
counties in the country. So that's really remarkable. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
And thank you for extending, because what I realized I forgot to say is what an amazing job that staff did on this sale. I think part of the good results were that this process was very well planned. Of course, we contributed to that, but the county staff did a lot of great work. And Jeanette's right to point to Linda for keeping everybody on schedule. But as a result, we were able to very carefully plan the sale at this time of year where there are not a lot of bond deals coming, and that also helps to get interest rates lower. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just add that in the last 25 years, for this board, this should be a benchmark. This is standard business for Ramsey County. We are one of a very small group of counties but to measure the interest rate is important, right? Because that's what you're paying out. And if you look through the history in the last 25 years, this is our norm. Now, it might deviate depending on the environment, the recession and other things come into play, but in general, this is how you measure where you're at in terms of your financials going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Zhang,
Aye.
Jebin Singh,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
McMurtry,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Moran,
Aye.
and Ortega.
Aye. We now have a policy item, 2026-27 strategic plan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. So my name is Michael Soto. I'm Director of Policy and Administrative Strategy. Today we're going to give you an overview of the strategic planning process at Ramsey County, introduce and highlight the strategic priorities for 2026 and 2027, and give a timeline of next steps for the remainder of the year. So this may be background for many of you, but just to set a baseline of understanding, we operate on a 24-monthly plan, which starts with the biennial budget process, continue to strategic planning that feeds into performance measures and supplemental budget, and the process repeats. And so as the image illustrates, these feed into each other, and it's a cycle that continues. And this is meant to organize the county's work at all levels and across departments to strengthen sort of one Ramsey County cohesion and integration throughout the county. These are the strategic priorities for 2026 and 2027. In the circle, the different colors, you'll see resident-centered holistic supports, justice transformation, intergenerational wealth, and economic justice. And then they're surrounded by two other priorities. In the core center, we have operational excellence. And on the outside, integrating everything as well, we have racial and health equity and shared community power. We'll go into more detail over these in a few slides, but first I want to talk about roles and responsibilities. So on the left, you'll see the different actors, county board, county manager, executive sponsors, strategic priority teams, policy and administrative strategy. The arrow on the left, the gray arrow, shows that information flows in both directions. You, as the county board, review strategic priorities and ensure accountability. There will be chairs of strategic priorities that meet 3 times per year with sponsors for their assigned strategic priority. The county manager is accountable to the county board regarding all aspects of the strategic plan, assigns the executive sponsorship for strategic priorities, and provides guidance on priority development, also tracks progress and ensures accountability. The executive sponsors serve as champions and strategic drivers of countywide priorities, bringing together cross-departmental leadership to work collaboratively in partnership with community on identifying goals, actionable strategies, and outcomes. And then we have the teams, the strategic priority teams. These are led by the executive sponsors that comprise of key leaders from across the departments who work collaboratively on the strategic priority goals and strategies and present progress through workshops and written updates. And then lastly, the policy and administrative strategy department that I lead manages the strategic plan, leads coordination and strategic priority development. We also provide technical assistance to executive sponsors and the strategic priority teams, and we coordinate written updates to the county board on progress. Again, the strategic priority meetings that we'll be having 3 times a year, there'll be an assigned commissioner for each strategic priority. The role is to be listening, responding, and providing strategic insight rather than directing day-to-day work. And in these meetings, the assigned commissioner chair will offer high-level policy guidance and direction. We're going to be using the strategic priorities to align county-wide efforts in a number of different ways. This includes through RBA policies and funding decisions, through workshop introductions, making sure that we highlight the strategic priority alignment, using RamseyNet to give updates to employees, aligning performance metrics in the open data portal, and including priority aligned measures throughout county board workshops, including workforce statistics, PAC, CERT, spending, ECIP, and CEAP. The goal is that these strategic priorities align all our county-wide efforts. These are the assignments for each priority. On the right column, you'll see the commissioners. I will highlight that Chair Ortega and Vice Chair Zhang are not assigned to priorities since they are Chair and Vice Chair of the board. But you can see, as I said, on the far right, you can see the commissioner assignments for each strategic priority, the executive sponsors in the second column from the right, and on the left is the sort of the strategic priority team. So we have those composed of both policy team and equity team members. The first strategic priority that I want to highlight is operational excellence. The following set of slides are very text heavy. The reason that we provide this text is to show this is the text that's going to go on the website. So I won't read the entire text, but I want you to have that text and know that that's what's going on the website. So for operational excellence, this means being good stewards of public dollars while supporting the public who deliver service every day. This also means investing in our workforce by improving systems, clarifying roles, mitigating risks, and providing the tools and support that staff need to succeed. And so if you look at the bottom, there's a number of efforts that this will include, not all encompassing, but projects focusing on reducing long-term county budget pressures, advancing talent action promotion and retention efforts, optimizing county-wide coordination after recent organizational structural changes, and ensuring a focus on the future of work as a government entity. The next strategic priority I'd like to highlight is resident-centered holistic supports. And here we're focusing on a holistic approach that recognizes that people interact with county systems as whole individuals with rights, needs, histories, and goals that cross program lines. Strengthening this priority means building systems and sustaining standards that protect residents, elevate their voices, and deliver services in ways that honor dignity, promote well-being, and reduce barriers of all county communities equally. Next is the intergenerational wealth and economic justice. Ramsey County is committed to integrating racial equity and to ending racism in systems and institutions that have created unfair disparities for Black, African American, American Indian, and other racially and ethnically diverse communities. These disparities reflect inequities in jobs, pay, business opportunities, and access to affordable housing. The next priority that I'd like to highlight is justice transformation. And here we say, for many people, contact with the criminal justice system has led to more harm than help. Criminal records are often used in ways that reinforce racism by creating barriers to basic needs like housing, jobs, and support services. These barriers have unfairly affected some communities more than others, especially Black, African American, and American Indian communities. And Ramsey County recognizes harm and is committed to repairing it by changing and transforming the justice system that has negatively impacted residents. And lastly, the racial and health equity and shared community power strategic priority. This sort of, as we said before, goes around and is integrated across all of the priorities. And so I'll just highlight Ramsey County will integrate racial equity and shared community power through county tools, policy, and decisions. This means identifying solutions and leveraging data to create fair systems and practices to prevent harm across racial and ethnic groups of people. County works across departments and service teams to break down long-standing barriers and strengthen how we lead, plan, and make decisions so outcomes are fair for all residents and employees. Lastly, this is the timeline for the remainder of 2026 at a very high level. So the first item here is the presentation today. Next, we will have the first sort of quarterly strategic priority meetings between members of the board, the chairs, of the strategic priorities with the sponsors in Q1, likely in March of 2026. The policy team will publish the strategic plan in partnership with communications in April 2026. So currently we'll be posting the descriptions that we showed a minute ago. The full plan includes actionable strategies and the goals, and so that's what's being aimed for April. Then the supplemental budget process kicks off in April 2026, and then there are presentations related to the budget by the county manager and department budget presentations in September. And that is the presentation.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Singh?
I just want to just comment that, you know, when we went through the budgeting process and we highlighted a number of different systemic changes that create challenges to our budget and us doing the good work here at Ramsey County. We're a large bureaucracy. Governments are. They're large systems. And so in order to do truly improvements in the way that we do our work and the way that we can transform these systems, that we do need these kind of processes in place. And I understand that this kind of thoughtful, actual strategic planning and action is the only way that we have a chance to really understand or disrupt, dismantle when needed, and iterate the way that we do our work so that we're responsive to the community in front of us and we're doing good governance going forward. So I know that many of us in many different roles in different organizations have sat through strategic planning processes and these kinds of things, and to lesser or greater degrees of engagement or involvement or effectiveness. But I do really see this as a living document that drives our work, and it's a way for us to hold ourselves accountable to the goals and the outcomes that we plan to put forward. So I appreciate having this framework, and thank you for explaining that to us today.
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely.
Any further discussion? Mary Jo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also appreciate this. I know we all do. This framework is really effective. It appears that it will be really a great example of how we're going to be, a great demonstration of how we're going to do our work moving forward. I will just say that this isn't new. I mean, we've been doing a lot of this work, but the framework is a little different, and I really like how I like the visual on page 4, where you have operational excellence in the middle, then the resident-centered holistic supports, justice, transformation, intergenerational wealth surrounding that, and then surrounding everything is racial and health equity and shared community power. So I really appreciate this visual of and how we are thinking about our work moving forward. It's great work that we've been doing in lots of different ways, and I really like the way that we're thinking about it moving forward. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Michael. You did a great job. I wanted to just once again call out that that operational excellence emerging strategic priority really came out of our board retreat that you all had. And then it kind of got compounded as we went through our budget process. So I know Michael described several pillars that are within there, but I want to just call out a couple of them, which is really to reduce that budget pressure work. Rather than having our leaders and teams spend time on other strategic priorities, we needed to put this right in the center so it became like an elevation of the work in terms of time and resources and leadership support. Also the risk mitigation, as we've continued to talk about, the work that we've been challenged with around the work that we do is complicated, and and it involves people, and a lot of times that brings risk. And so we want to work on mitigating those risks, which in turn also reduce costs for the community as well. So in both of those things, they came out of feedback from all of you, so I appreciate the support that you've all had around operational excellence. And to Commissioner McGuire's point, and some of you have been here longer at this table than I have, but there used to be a significantly more number of strategic priorities, I would say in excess of even 10 at a time. And then it's slowly over the years, we've gotten, a few less, consolidating, getting more focus. And I do think that that focus is really critical at a moment like this when there is so much going on, to just kind of center ourselves and really grind our work into some of those core things that we're working on. And then the last thing I'll just say is, as part of our budget, this was a hard thing, we did eliminate strategic priority funding. And I think that was a difficult decision that the board had to make, but I did challenge our organization to think thoughtfully about how our whole budget is really an opportunity to do strategic work. It happens every day, regardless of whether you had gotten some seed money out of the strategic priority funds. It's really, part of all our budget. And today, you're going to see a board workshop that is about justice transformation. So we want to, put that label on there and show that the work happens every day and the work that departments are doing. So you're going to see a little bit more of that, where we bring like the symbols and the connections of strategic priorities more closely to policy decisions, RBAs. I'm going to ask people to reference strategic priorities more often and link them to the RBAs as they're aligned, if that makes sense. So those are ways the board will see them more directly as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, County Manager and Michael, for the presentation on this. And I know that this is a conversation that we've been having to get to this point here. I would also like to hear a little bit more about, I appreciate the timeline, but I guess at which point, or at some points, which points are we celebrating off as some successes towards this?
I mean, I would say today is a great starting point.
Yeah.
Announcing the priorities and their descriptions, I think, as was alluded to before, getting to agreement across a range of different folks from different backgrounds and different expertise on a single set of priorities is in itself quite an achievement. So that would certainly be the first, I would say.
I can offer a couple other milestones. I think certainly around April, when we get this all published with the actionable items that are, or the projects that we are most uplifting around the priorities. But you're also going to see it just, the Chief of Staff, Maria Sarabi, has gotten me into this word around organizational, operational rhythm of sorts. And really, that's what strategic priorities we're trying to do, is to build this into the culture of the organization, so that you're going to see it in RBAs, you're going to see it in workshops. And then, but there are some milestone moments. And some of those are also going to be when I present the budget and align those. And when we, the departments come with their budget hearings, and they're talking about all of those as well. And on our open data portal, we made significant strides last year, which we're going to build upon this year. But instead of just being able to click on departments and see their performance metrics, you can click on a strategic priority and see a whole plethora of departments that have been working against that priority. So we're kind of de-siloing our metrics, so that it's not just focused on departments in the way that the community can see them, but that you can actually see them around the strategic priority. So even if you go on Open Data Portal now, you can see that. And so those will get updated as the departments go through their budget process this year, and then they'll be able to just pull up Open Data Portal for you at their budget hearings and talk a little bit about really how the money translates into outcomes. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then finally, Mr. Chair, Michael, the meetings that are going to be held about quarterly meetings, are those also when you would present back to the board as well as a full board, or are you just meeting individually with the commissioners?
We're meeting individually with the commissioners for each assigned priority.
Okay. Then at which point does it come back to the full board?
Commissioner Zhang, you would see it as part of the budget process, if that makes sense. So really the check-ins are to talk about workshops that are coming up. I know each of the executive sponsors are specifically highlighting initiatives that are of note, that maybe are of more interest, because they're maybe not built into the infrastructure of the organization quite yet. Maybe we funded them just in this budget for future consideration for ongoing funding, or maybe they were new things. Like I think about the family coach model, for example. It falls under the holistic family strategic priority. It will come back as part of probably somebody's performance metric. It was a new set of funds that you're putting into as a continuation of like the 27 budget, if that makes sense. So that's where you would see it again, is through kind of our regular cadence of work through workshops and then also the budget process.
Great.
Mary Jo,
Thank you.
then Tara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate Commissioner Zhang's question, and I appreciate your response, County Manager Becker. I'm thinking that I also would like to, maybe in 6 months, see how is this working. Like, I know you're going to meet with each of us as in our strategic priority area. I would be curious how it's all going. I know we'll see it in the budget, but it maybe doesn't always feel like it's as called out in the budget process. So just think about
feedback.
Just think about maybe doing a touch base. You know, how's this new way that we're thinking of it, and how's it going? So I would just like a touch base, and I do appreciate the workshops. I mean, we can do it in a workshop. We can do it however. But thanks.
Mr. Chair, I will respond that at one time, a few weeks ago, we were planning, you might recall last year, and it was kind of part of the new commissioners onboarding too, why we decided to do it that way. But when we were doing, starting the new biennial budget, we decided to use some workshop time, and we actually focused a whole day on every strategic priority last, I would say, April and May. We probably did that, and it was really successful. I had actually had that on our schedule of things to do this year, but recognizing just some of the pivots we've had to make with our staff time, also with the current challenges of federal actions and other things that are before us, and really wanting to put our leadership time on the budget pressures. I recently told everybody we were not going to do the strategic priority workshops this year because they were going to show up in the budget. So we can continue to dialogue about that. I'm trying to manage our workload of our team as well right now. I've had many conversations with Commissioner Ortega about how to make sure our leaders are spending time, and I am also spending time on the right things right now. So hopefully that helps as well.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely, Mr. Chair. And I want to be clear. We don't need to do a whole day on each one. Just sort of a touch base on how everything's going. Just a little highlight of each one. But yes, I agree. I completely support your vision of how we need to move forward with these. All the pressure we're putting on our staff in our schedules. So I appreciate that. But just a little touch base on everything. Yeah.
Tara, then Mary Jo.
Yeah, well, actually, this it goes right to where I wanted to bring up, which is I appreciate that there is some ownership and accountability as a champion and as a steward of each of these priorities with our colleagues, meaning that as this work is being done, like for instance, I'm attached to operational excellence, that there are a number of different works that will be going on in between any formal presentations and workshops that we'll be participating in. And I think just as we report back, if we're on the Workforce Innovation Board or the Railroad Authority or anything like that, but we are consistently the ones who can prepare notes to make sure we're giving updates and educating our colleagues, bringing community along with the work that we're doing, so that we can be responsible for that as well informally, to make sure that if there's meaningful work that we feel is important to share, we can bring that here in our community comments. We can do it in inviting staff to say, this seems to be very important. Can you send a memo to my colleagues? I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that we can facilitate that ongoing understanding and learning in our roles. And I appreciate that, because there's oftentimes we are not in this body part of the day-to-day operations, or we don't get into the weeds or micromanage, but we can take a little bit of that heft of communication and keeping the body informed. So I think that that's something that we can do to help our staff during this time.
Mary Jo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also wanted to just uplift, County Manager, what you said about, just some things that requires us to pivot to and be responsive to the environment that we are in, while also holding this work moving forward. For example, Metro Surge. And when the county board has to take actions, such as we did last week on the RBA, does that change this in any way? Or does the order and the priority of making sure that the strategic plan happens, does it change in any way?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Zhang. You're going to steal a little bit of my thunder toward my report, but I do think you guys challenged us to think about the long-term sustainability of what happens in our community as this surge continues and hopefully dissipates, right? And so when we think about some of the things that are brought in all our work, because I really do believe our whole organization is working on strategic priorities. But if we're going to call out one example, something like the Economic Competitiveness and Inclusion Plan, it is going to be under the that economic justice strategic priority. It is work we're already going to do now. How we do that work now, thinking about the extreme business impacts on our community, might shift a little bit. So it allows us to. I always want to acknowledge that this board has always been so committed to a very fixed set of values, and that allows us then, as we do the work, to stay on the same trajectory, but we might sometimes have to make slight pivots, really, and when I really think about it, recognizing what's going on, because we already have the channels by which we're doing the work, if that makes sense. So it is an opportune time for us to work on the inclusion plan, recognizing that we do have to think about a restart in some ways for our business community, for our residents in terms of opportunity and well-being. So that would be my answer, is like within the work that we're already doing, sort of there's going to be another layer now. Why justice transformation is so important? Well, we have more families who've been under more duress, right? And why holistic families are more work is needed, because we're getting our social service report around more families being broken apart. So it just all that work just layers on top of our social safety net that we're trying to ensure is solid. Is that helpful?
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
County Connections?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few updates for all of you. So on the federal front, we are still monitoring the federal budget. Last Friday, the House did pass the 2026 appropriation package, which was funding for several federal departments, so we averted a partial government shutdown. The bill included short-term extension to fund Department of Homeland Security at the 2025 levels through February 13th, which is the end of the week, to allow for negotiations over new limits on ICE enforcement. So many in Congress, including this board, has advocated for pushing for stricter rules, including judicial warrants for private property entry, bans on face masks, visible identification, and limits near sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, etc. So while an agreement is unlikely, lawmakers expect another funding extension or a Department of Homeland Security shutdown, which would affect agencies like FEMA, TSA, and Coast Guard, and Secret Service. Though that would leave those employees unpaid, similar to a federal shutdown of like last fall. I wanted to just mention the SAVE Act. Ramsey County will be sending a letter today on behalf of our board chair here, urging our congressional delegation to oppose the SAVE Act. There's supposed to be a vote today in the House, which would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register for voting in federal elections. What I want to really call out that by enacting this legislation for counties is that it actually creates significant new administrative requirements for counties when it comes to election administration, and it doesn't come with any funding for implementing any of the new requirements. So while we've talked a lot about unfunded mandates, this is another one of those, despite all the other problems with it. It also increases legal exposure for election administrators, including counties. So just wanted you to know that if the vote's supposed to happen this afternoon, we're going to get our letter off here later this morning. In terms of an Operation Metro Surge update, a week ago, this board passed a resolution that outlined several things for me to continue to work with our teams to do in response of Metro Surge, as well as some new efforts. So we were already doing many of the things, and we're continuing to do those, but we have a few new things. This past week, we did add signage at all our parks and recreational facilities, reinforcing that our county parks and rec parking lots are property of Ramsey County. Parking is restricted to only employees, patrons, and vendors. Staging, storage, operation base, or other activities are not permitted without a permit from our Parks Department. Operationally, we are also launching additional field training for staff. The training is called Navigating an Encounter with Immigration Enforcement. It's intended for employees that need guidance that applies to work performed in community settings, such as when you're in a resident's home. Sign up can be done through our county's learning management system. There's actually another training tomorrow. We've had several hundred county employees go through that training. We continue to hear impacts of stories of residents and community members, many heartbreaking. For many staff, these incidents have hit very close to home to people that they care about, people we serve, and it's causing a lot of secondary trauma, certainly. I had the opportunity to actually meet with the Fairview Health Services team yesterday, and they will be partnering with our Human Resources Department to provide psychological first aid to our staff. So psychological first aid is an evidence-based community model training for social service providers. Trainees will learn how to support healthy recovery in individuals following a traumatic event, public health emergency, or natural disaster or personal crisis. This curriculum integrates public health, community health, and individual psychology by drawing upon skills of the trainees. Thank you to Fairview Health for their support. In addition, our EAP, All One Health, has launched a new mobile app for our Ramsey County employees, and thank you to our HR department for making that happen with them. I continue to get operational reports from our departments. A few things I wanted to note for you this week. Last week, I reported a rise in Spanish language contacts for rental assistance. Demand for housing assistance remains elevated statewide, with housing requests up 59% and rental assistance requests more than doubling. It's about 118% more. So nearly half of these referrals are actually concentrated in 10 zip codes, including 55119 in Ramsey County, which is, it demonstrates continued pressure on our east side neighborhoods and for need. Language access has also increased significantly with Spanish language contacts, nearly 10 times typical levels using the United Way 211 data line. That is a free helpline that connects people to resources like housing assistance, food, utility help, healthcare, mental health, and childcare. We are also seeing longer appointments due to the interpreter needs, and so that also is adding to county work burden. From our social services, our mental health division has seen an increase in referrals to adult mental health case management and an increase of requests in telehealth as well. Also from social services, this is from the Children and Family Services, they have implemented some operational adjustments aimed at ensuring prompt responses and for maintaining service continuity, particularly with caregivers facing detention. So this involves enhanced collaboration among supervisors, screening, intake, and case management. So they continue to lean on consultation with our county attorney's office when it impacts individual cases, and also getting guidance from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families as well. So on the business front, as a continuation of our discussions last week, at 11 o'clock this morning, Governor Walz will be holding a news conference to discuss the real-time impacts on the federal surge on small businesses. So you can look for that later today. As we also discussed last week, there is a significant impact on Latino immigrant businesses in particular. Fear, reduced foot traffic, sudden revenue losses are forcing many entrepreneurs to make impossible decisions of whether they should keep their doors open or can. So this is really being felt on East Side St. Paul, and I want to thank the East Side Funders Group and in partnership with the Latino Economic Development Center. They have launched a Latino and Immigrant Business Emergency Relief Fund, and they're offering some grant assistance to help businesses stabilize as we speak. Some other things that you might want to be aware of in the Star Tribune. It was stated that Twin Cities home builders are falling behind schedule as federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota has fueled a shortage in roofing, drywall, and other construction workers. This is impacting developers and real estate agents. While it is too soon to calculate the full economic impact, the shortage is also further clogging the residential real estate industry, which is already facing a sales slowdown and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, developers say they are losing on rental income because they can't get contractors to finish rehab and maintenance work on units as well. So I think this is helpful to just see both organizationally and economically, community-wise, all the different impacts. In a bit of good news, I want to thank our partners at Excel Energy. They have put some temporary protections in place for our customers who are experiencing income loss or experience safety concerns. Many of you got an email from them. They were able to reach out to our county leaders this week and notify us that disconnections will be suspended throughout the 7-county metro area and through the end of February. So customers do not need to call to receive this protection. Bills will continue to accrue, but they are able to at least put a temporary pause on your bill. And then per your directive in the RBA, you asked me to continue to think about long-term impacts. So while we're continuing to mitigate the ongoing demands, it's certainly important that we have this dual focus, and I thank you for acknowledging that and making sure that we spend time on that. I am so grateful for the many community leaders who have reached out recognizing the challenges to the county. I really do want to thank many people of large organizations in our community who've sent an email, left a message saying we're thinking about you, Ramsey County. That really means a lot. So I just wanted to say that I'm working on a plan to convene our local system leaders. I'm focused on system leaders. Through an effort called potentially a Care and Continuity Roundtable. I want to bring together leaders from some of our largest systems. So, and I mentioned this to Fairview yesterday when we had that conversation, and they were all in about 1 second. So I think we have our hospital systems, our other care networks that want to make sure around our, truly our county's vision, mission, and goals when you think about well-being and health. How do we continue to manage through that, through these ongoing weeks and months and maybe years to come? And so bringing a group together, they are anxious for conversation. I think there could also be a significant amount of conversation around our value around opportunity, as we talked about the business impacts as well. So the purpose of the roundtable would just to make sure we are staying aligned at a critical time. The worst thing is to be going in a bunch of different directions, all trying to react differently to the situation. The county has proven itself to be a significant convener. We are a direct conduit to residents that need those systems. And so rather than doing more programs and things, I think we really need to step into our leadership as a systems convener, really, of sorts. So more to come on that. I'm sure I will be leaning on some of you for some conversations about that as well. But lastly, I wanted to specifically call up Scott Helmke, our Human Services Manager in Financial Assistance. He's going to just give a very quick sharing on how people can access emergency assistance at this time, and I wanted this recorded so we could make sure we're able to share with others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on up, but just hold on a minute. I have a few questions. With the, is there, you mentioned so much in terms of the mental health issue with some of the folks. The reason I'm bringing this up, by the way, is my 3-year-old granddaughter, mom taking her to school, witnessed I wouldn't say witness ICE pulling somebody out of the car, throwing them on the ground, so forth. Person was screaming for help. My granddaughter just told me this, that there was a boy, I found it odd, that was asking for help, and she was telling her mom, he needs help, he needs help. Now, my daughter's an educator, so she knows how to handle that, but I'm thinking there are a lot of parents that just might need advice. Do we have like a hotline, or who does, where parents could call in for advice? You know, when a 3-year-old, for example, sees a violent act like that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've seen quite a few of resources come through. I can continue to work with our team to make sure we share them out as well as the county. I know the school district has been sending a lot of things, obviously, to their families as well. And, you know, organizations like
Do we have
NAMI.
anything on our
Yeah, we can work
website?
on that and make sure that we provide
You
some
know,
of that. Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes they just need advice on how to communicate with their kids and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we do have a website around the Connecting With Us, it's called. And there's different categories of services, and I'll make sure I talk to our team to make sure we add some more mental health resources on there if they're not already on there.
Well, and in the media, while that's being worked on, last week I talked about how NAMI Minnesota had their Power Week all around supporting youth and kids. So they had a number of workshops and and webinars that should be available online on their website. So if people are wanting to do that while we put this into place, I would say NAMI Minnesota has been a rich resource for people of all ages to look at and respond to this incident.
Yeah, that's great, but but if Ramsey County could somehow collect resources like that and display it every way, it's easy for parents just to say, let me just reach out to that.
Yep. All right, Scott.
Oh, I have, before you begin, I have Commissioner Moran. I'm sorry, you raised your hand.
I don't know if I should go before or after this young man, but I wanted to respond to a couple of things you said, so I don't know. So one, you know, one of the things that folks have asked me about the signs that Ramsey County is putting on up in our lots in regards to ICE. Can you share what the signs say?
Oh, yeah. I read it exactly, Commissioner Moran, but let me get it back for you here. Let's see here. They say property of Ramsey County, and then they also say, oh gosh, they say parking is restricted to employees, patrons, and vendors. Staging, storage, operation base, or other activities are not permitted without a permit, because you have to have a permit to be, you know, locating yourself on our parks property.
Okay, thank you.
With that.
I mean, you share so much, and I know I feel extremely, extremely heavy with all the information that I'm trying to take in and respond to all the things that's happening out in the world. So I can only imagine how so many other people are feeling this moment who have direct impact of actions from the Metro Surge. But I was also had a second question. And there's just so much to do in regards to like the letter to our congressional leaders. Part of me feel like it's a little late because they're going to be meeting today to do a vote. And I know in the last minute they're inundated with a lot of information that they're trying to take in. And so I was wondering, you know, we talked about this last week, here we are today, and we're going to move it out today. Is there like a process or a protocol that we can take to be in the moment of the moment?
You're talking about the SAVE Act?
Yes, versus having to come back today to say we're going to send it out.
Yeah,
Is there a way to respond quicker?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Commissioner Moran. Actually, Commissioner Jevon Singh reached out late last week. I wanted to just ensure that we were in alignment and understood the issue, so we connected with our federal lobbyist and also talked with our elections team. And so the vote is today, but you know, we didn't know when the vote was going to be. And I think Commissioner Jevon Singh and I kind of went back and forth on it because everything we researched said the vote could happen anytime, but we didn't find out actually it was going to be today until probably late yesterday when you sent it to me. So I apologize that we're a little later on that SAVE Act letter, but the Department of from Homeland Security letter, we sent that well in advance of any vote.
Yeah, and you know, we do a lot of dialogue and micro, you know, looking things over, and just that, I'm just thinking that sometimes we just need to be more efficient in how we get things out in a more timely manner, you know, so.
Good morning.
No, could I just react to that? I think you bring up great points, but I think, you know, with this being a new board, I'm just thinking in previous boards, you know, we have been working together for so many years that we used to call each other and just say, fine, let's do it.
Let's do it, yeah.
You know, but now it's much more I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but maybe just being rather safe than sorry until you sort of get the rhythm of the board. But in the past, Mary Jo, we used to move a whole lot quicker on this.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would say that things are not usual these days.
Yeah.
They're doing things that are totally impacting us, and they're doing them in an erratic fashion, and whether they're going to take the vote or not. So we're trying to respond as quickly as possible, and we have an opportunity to respond in a timely way, but I'm really grateful that we're taking time to make sure that our response is appropriate. You know, we don't want to just respond and then not have it be, you know, we need to check with our elections department. We need to do this, and I think you did it really fast at this time. And we are, you know, we have it on our schedule. We'll probably start putting it on now. You know, we can take action at any board meeting that we want, and we do want to all know about it, and we can talk to each other, but we do have open meeting laws, so we need to, you know, do some of these things, and we have to do these things in public. So I would say that as the legislative team, that we're always trying to monitor, you know, these different things, and they are happening fast, and we'll just keep trying to get these issues in front of us as fast as we can, knowing that they're coming at us really fast, and they're doing things, you know, sometimes one day, sometimes the next. So you know that.
I would
you know
definitely
that
agree that things
Yeah.
come fast, but things come fast. And sometimes we have to respond.
Yeah, and we try, yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Ortega, Commissioners, and County Manager. I'm here just to give an overview of emergency assistance, our emergency assistance programs. We have two programs that are called Emergency Assistance and Emergency General Assistance. Both help with a one-time financial crisis, such as eviction, help with damage deposit, foreclosure, or utility shut-off. The programs can be accessed once in an 18-month period. And emergency assistance follows MFIP rules, and it's a TANF block grant. EGA is a state-funded program. Residents can apply for both using a combined application form, Minnesota benefits. They can upload through the state system. They can apply in person. And we determine if it's EA or EGA on the backside. So
Okay, so if I were sitting at home and I said, I don't understand any of what you just said because I'm not part of our system, what number would I call, or where would I look on the website if I need help?
Google has all the information. So it's search engines really help. It'll tell you how to apply. It'll give you a link where to apply. And it also will give us information on the different methods for applying.
So the Google search would just be Ramsey County Emergency Assistance?
Yep, or you can go to RamseyNet, and the search engine's getting better at helping to find the locations to answer those questions too. So it is on RamseyNet.
RamseyNet's internal though, but if I were in community and I wanted to, would it just be on the Ramsey County website?
There's an internal and an external, so it should be on both. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yep.
Good morning, Commissioner, County Manager. I just wanted to clarify a little bit. So the reason, the way that residents can connect us is multiple options. They can either go to, if they're familiar with the min benefit, they can go there. They can call us, our call center. We have different, call lines that people can call, and they can request for an application to be mailed to them. They can come our service centers, whether it's a downtown service center, Maplewood, libraries. They can apply from different, methods when they need to apply it. And in general speaking, when people need even to, they can ask questions whether they may be eligible or not, because, sometimes it's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm. What's the call line number? Do you know? The call line number.
Say that again?
What's the call line number?
Oh, okay. That is 651-266-4444.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Chair, may you also clarify about what this emergency assistance entails, or like if there are time limits, or how much, or like when should folks access this resource compared to the other resources that are out in the community, like for example, say Salvation Army or Community Action. When should folks tap into the county resource?
Commissioner Chair, Commissioner Zhuang, there are so people are eligible to apply for general assistant or general assistant and EA emergency assistant once in 18 months. And if someone has already used the benefit, we definitely work with all the partners, including United Way 211, and most recently we have been working with the City of St. Paul, who had emergency rental program, which closed now, my understanding, it ended. So there are multiple community agencies that we work with. And if someone applies initially and they are eligible for other benefits, for example, MFIP, we will determine first, if they can resolve their benefit for their emergency using, MFIP, benefit.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I'm looking at it online, so I do see that they apply through mnbenefits.gov for assistance. Do we know how many have applied and if there's a wait list and what that backlog is? Because I do know a lot of organizations that help with rent say, do you have your denial letter from the county first, or have you applied to the county first, or applied to emergency assistance first? So sometimes us as a system holds up that process from a resident getting help that they need at another alternative, like community-based organization. So can you tell us any information on, do we currently have a backlog? Do we know, are there funds available? It is a new budget cycle, and what that process entails. So just be like, I think it's really helpful for residents to know as well, like, hey, expect a call within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Just walk through that a little bit, please.
Chair Ortega, Commissioner Miller, as of today, I was just looking or tracking this morning, we are processing in about 30 days.
Okay.
That means when someone applies their application today, because we have this, this is kind of like applications coming on daily basis, and we track them in order that we receive them.
Okay.
And as of today, I think we are processing within 30 days. Our aim is to process those applications as they came in, but because of the volume that we receive, we have this, process order. However, if someone is in the critical, they're facing eviction, or they have an emergency shut off, that is, we live in Minnesota, and then at this point, we can escalate those applications and process them quicker.
Okay, and what's the process for that? Do they contact you? So do they fill out the application first, wait to hear back, and then if it is an emergency where they're facing immediate eviction or, that circumstance, do they call this phone number then to say, hey, I'm going to be evicted tomorrow, I need this expedited?
We do have, once we receive the application,
Yep.
we do have, emergency assistant phone line that
Okay.
people can call. But most of the time, people, once they apply and they are in the queue to process their application, the assigned worker will follow up with them. And your earlier question included if someone is not eligible, for example, they just need a denial letter
Yep.
from us. We do those. We issue those denial letters, to the third parties that they can apply for the benefit.
Okay.
Scott, did I miss anything you want to add?
Thank you.
Okay, my questions was probably similar, very similar to Commissioner Miller. And so we talked about it takes at least 10 days to get a response back from Ramsey County, or 10 days for the completion of here's some dollars to pay your rent. Which one is it?
Chair Ortega, Commissioner Moran, once we receive the application, and this is the cycle of the 30 days, once the worker touches the application, they review the application and see what's the emergency is about. Is this eviction? Is this a damage deposit? Is this a utility shut-off? And then they reach out to the applicant and ask verifications, because they have to provide, verifications, including their income and also, cost effectiveness. If we resolve your emergency today, are you able to meet your basic needs, going forward up to 90 days? 60 days? 60 days. So that's what we look. Once we receive the application, and then we give them time to turn in the applications. And people have multiple options. If they want it, they can stop by our service centers, bring the verification needed. If not, also they can upload that information through our electronic, case management system.
So I think I heard you say it takes up to like 60 days.
No, 60 days to resolve their emergency. If you issue, the payment today, if someone does not have any income, we don't issue the emergency assistance because it's not cost effective. Because if we pay this month, and then they will face the next month, unless they have a job lined up for them or they are anticipating any income, we don't issue the benefit. But up to 60 days, if we have seen the documentation that they have ongoing income, then we issue the payment.
So that is like 60 days for all that work to happen before you issue.
No.
Okay.
The issue within 10 days. So right now,
within 10
they're
days.
processing within 10 days, but it sounds like they'll keep the case open for up to 60 days to help them make sure that their issue is resolved or their crisis
Is that what you said?
Yes. So just to repeat what I just said, or clarify more. Once someone applies for emergency, as I see the application backlog right now, if you call backlog, the processing timeline is within 30 days. Once the worker touches this application, it could be within 1 day, and it could take up to another 30 days, depending on when we receive those verifications that we need to process the case.
Okay, so it is really an emergency assistance. It can happen immediately. And someone's being evicted from their apartment. Are you at eviction court? Is Ramsey County present in eviction court?
We work
to kind of like support this individual.
We have a direct contact with a partner that actually is in the room for housing court, and we triage those applications through a contact person on the team.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just want to thank you both for joining us. I think two things I'd like to take as takeaways. I'm going to have our surge team make sure that we, on our federal response page for the residents, that there is already a link, but I wonder if maybe a couple more really plain language things like, what do I do if I'm facing eviction or need housing assistance, so people are really clear on these are the next steps and this is how you reach out. And then I wonder, Dr. Ali, if you would be willing to just give the board a quick memo with a few bullets on like just the timelines and how the process runs, so that it can be a complicated process, to say the least, between the 10 and 30 and 60 days. So I think just them having a grounding in that is probably just a document from you as a follow-up would be great. So, yeah.
I have one more.
Kelly?
And this might be more of a Ling question as well. So as you, I've had residents ask about emergency assistance and rental help, but they are afraid to come to the county because they may not have status. So if that could be clear somewhere as well, that I'm not sure if we ask for immigration status, or if we do, or if we are not able to help people who do not have status.
Yeah, so all our programs, we have to follow the federal application requirements.
Okay.
So am I correct in saying that?
That's correct. As Manager Hamke was explaining earlier, EA program follows in our TANF program rules, and you need at least one person in the household must have a citizenship.
Okay, and I think maybe putting that somewhere would be very helpful. And like I said too, because if they don't have citizenship, and oftentimes these organizations ask for the denial letter from the county first. So just wanted to note that as well, that the importance of getting that denial letter is important. So thank you guys for being quick with that for residents.
Yeah, we will include that also with the one-pager memo that we sent out.
My question is, what is your language capacity for different languages?
That's a good question.
In our call center?
Yeah.
Scott,
we use the language line is our interpreter service. So when they call in, they choose their language, and then it goes to the contact center team who connects with the language line. So any language that the language line uses, if that's your question.
And so how are we connected to that language line so it's expedient, so it moves the way you want it to move?
If it's in person, we take them back into a private area where they'll make the phone call with the language line. If it's through the phone call, we send it to a group that prioritizes the language line calls to speed up the service.
And then they get back to you?
Get back to me.
The language line then gets back to, or do they process?
In real time.
Oh.
So they would do it while they're on the phone, if that's yours.
So they process it for you?
No, let me clarify. So once now someone reaches us and they don't speak English, they need interpreter for that. We put them in a three-way call conference as we speak with, and then the interpreter will be live, and then we will vet their question. So what's your question? What do you need? And then from there, we will determine the next step.
Go ahead.
I just want to make the comment that for the frustration that we may be feeling in this moment, that emergency doesn't mean I raise my hand and somebody gives me a check. That in the time of accountability and making sure that we're following protocols and doing everything to be good stewards of federal, state, and county tax dollars, that some of this is part of that. And so to make sure that while we are expediting and being as reactive as we can, we're doing it in a responsible way, and to understand that too. So I appreciate that. And as much as we can do to clarify the process, so that somebody who needs help knows how to call and access these services, and then we as their advocates can know what's going on behind the scenes to keep track and hold ourselves accountable, both to delivering dollars and programs in the way that is responsible and is required, but as quickly and efficiently as possible. So thank you for answering some of these questions, and then we'll distill this down into something that's a little bit more consumable by folks who just want to get help at home.
Well, the reason why I bring up the issue, because in Ali, I've been dealing with this with you for 3 years now, and that is that people need to know, to your point, that you're being denied. Because I have constituents that you could tell them, the process is going to take 2 years, but at least they know that. The fact is that if we don't communicate back to people that they're waiting, they don't know what's my next step? How do I act? And that's what's important, is that they get a communication from us as soon as possible. Whether it takes 10 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it's irrelevant. If we don't get back to folks quickly. And that's to your point. If we're going to deny somebody, let's deny them right away so they can move on to get assistance from somebody else.
Chair Ortega, that's absolutely correct. There is a room for improvement. This is a challenge that we had, and we recently made some operational changes to enhance that communication piece. We have seen some significant improvement. Even if you look today, our dashboard, our drop the call list has significantly improved. We recently instituted a unit that we call a screening team that will check those applications as they come in. But there is still more room for improvement, and we're truly working hard to make that happen. And we understand that the challenges that our community is facing, the resources that we have, it's far less than the need from the community. And this is some challenging times that we are prioritizing, and we are also dealing with program rules and limitations. But we understand that, and this is something that myself and my team are working hard to improve our resident satisfaction when they reach out to us.
Any other? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on. We're behind schedule for the workshop. Let's move on to outside board and committee reports. Maisha?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last week, I had an opportunity to attend an Atlanta Housing Learning Exchange with the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. They hosted this because in November of 2025, the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation, F.R. Bigelow, and Mardag Foundation launched Our Home State. It is a pilot to bring together donors, government, and business together to make sure that our housing ecosystem has the power and resources to both strengthen stability, strengthen shelter, build new housing, and change policies. they announced this with a $20 million investment from philanthropy. They're open to getting more folks to contribute to this too. But I do also want to give a big shout out to our EGCI team. They used our housing continuum that we have in our plan to put this in our reading document to help guide their decisions on where to place investments. So at one continuum is the eviction prevention, and then the other one is the market rate of where the housing supply continuum is. And so they are focused on eviction prevention, our sheltered and supportive housing, and affordable housing. And I just had the opportunity to attend this with several different stakeholders throughout the metro, along with Commissioner Moran, to learn from Atlanta and hear about their bold and audacious goal of preserving 20,000 units of affordable housing across the city by 2030. So we will continue some of those conversations on how we can both either change policy, build and align resources to also continue to help our ecosystem here in Ramsey County. So that was a really great trip. Next up, I want to mention, as we talk about mental health in the community, the Ramsey County Children's Mental Health Collaborative just pivoted some funds as well to make sure that we have resources that are accessible to both youth and families and caregivers more in a community-based setting, and also without having to get an evaluation or an assessment, because that is what really takes up a long time, and especially in a time where we do need help support, that this will make it more accessible to our community members. So I've shared that already with County Manager Becker, who will share that out with us here so that we can share it to our respective communities. Finally, I would say the impact around metro surge is still being felt and reverberated across the entire state, and folks are still hearing about it. Even in Atlanta, folks are saying that they are definitely seeing what's happening, keeping us in their thoughts, and that they are holding us in solidarity with us. We are still seeing immigration enforcement actions happening throughout our communities, and neighbors are still stepping up. For example, East Side neighbors are coming together for another, just a rally on Tuesday, so later today at 5 to 7 at 7th Street East and Bates Avenue. And neighbors and everyone all across the city are still invited to come and join us to be in community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been talking a lot about our legislation and getting things done in a timely manner, and I agree with Commissioner Moran that we do want things to be done as quickly as possible. Our legislative team continues to meet. Commissioner Moran and I and our government relations team, we're having a pre-session legislative meeting tomorrow where we're going to talk about the upcoming state legislative session and also our upcoming federal conference that a number of us are going to. And I just want to encourage all of you to collect the resident impact examples that you're hearing about what's happened about the metro, the metro surge with ICE and with things. We need to let our federal delegation know how this is impacting our community and our businesses. So keep the examples coming, and we're going to be talking about those with our federal delegation. We're meeting with Senator Klobuchar, Smith, Representative McCollum, Congresswoman Craig. We're meeting with as many of the people as we can get it into the schedule, and so I'm really grateful that that's coming up in the next few weeks. Also, I want to give a shout out to Roseville Cares. They, along being supported by a number of group organizations in Roseville with Do Good Roseville, the Roseville Area Optimist Club, they held a thank you luncheon for our first responders. It was really well attended. The first responders really appreciated this luncheon that we had, just to recognize the work that they're doing and trying to do to really protect our community in these really trying times. So many thanks to our first responders. Also, Our Public Works had an open house on Rice Street and McCarran's area reconstruction, so thanks to our Ramsey County Public Works for doing that. Little Canada had a booyah. Thank you to our fire department for hosting great food. Also tonight, St. Anthony Village is hosting a listening session on immigration enforcement concerns. They're doing this every week for this month, I believe. It's 4:30 to 5:30 tonight at the St. Anthony Village City Hall. And the City of Lauderdale is hosting a climate action open house tomorrow night from 5 to 7 in their City Hall. Then I really want to invite all of us to go to the Ramsey County League of Local Governments, which is our association that includes all of our cities, school districts, and the county. And we're having a legislative exchange with our legislators Thursday night, this in a couple of days, at our Ramsey County Library in Maplewood from 5 to 7. It's a meet and greet with our state legislators to talk about the issues that we have with them. And so I just really encourage as many of us that can be there as possible. And that's, as I said, this Thursday night, Ramsey County League. So thank you for that, Mr. Chair.
All righty. In the essence of time here, I'm going to cut it down and just say it was lovely to be with colleagues at the Capital Area Community Vitality Project's Community Hub event that was for local electeds to learn more about that Ramsey County Sheriff and other services that will be at that new location. I believe there's an event this afternoon open for community, so I encourage folks to stop on by and see it. And I'm encouraged by the idea that there's been a lot of different collaboration around public safety, public health, other ways of reaching out to community, and that there will be yet another physical location near the Capitol complex and the neighborhoods that are served by that area to reach out and build those connections. So I welcome folks to attend that. I was able to attend the White Bear Area Food Shelves Barely Open. I tell you, Minnesota knows how to embrace the cold. It's golf on ice with hockey sticks and a lot of good fun, and raising funds for an organization that's supporting our community during these really tough times. And then also was able to prepare for our trip to DC with the NACO Health Policy Steering Committee to make sure that the resolutions from across the country are tight and we're understanding them and moving forward. And I can say that when we are talking to colleagues across the U.S., they are handling all of the same things, discussions of how do we continue to immunize children, how do we continue to make sure that we are meeting the health equity goals that all our communities face during these really challenging times. So I encourage, I know all of us are in different committees and do different work with our colleagues across the country in preparation for that important conference coming up to continue to dig in on that. I know it's hard to focus, but I think it's important. And then I just wanted to say that in supporting our local businesses and the mental health and behavioral health issues around Operation Metro Surge, I was able to attend a virtual summit, the Workforce Innovation Summit, Belonging and Why It Matters, which was hosted by our Work Innovation Board and several other neighboring counties. It was a presentation by NAMI, and it had a tremendous amount of resources, a slide deck, and things like that. And I encourage our business community. We have so many family-owned businesses that don't have a rich back of the house or HR department to be able to support their staff, the people who are part of their community, and this was a great opportunity to prepare yourself and have the resources you need to support your staff, your organization, and your customers and clients as well. And then we've got a couple of events coming up. I'll be at the Ramsey County Legal Local Governments Legislative Program, but then also Irondale High School has their Black History Month showcase Thursday night as well. And then on Friday morning, I'll be attending the White Bear Lake Legacy Breakfast to support the White Bear Lake area schools, and I encourage folks in the Northeast Metro to do as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things I wanted to highlight over the last week. This past Thursday, I had a chance to attend the Midway Chamber of Commerce annual celebration, their annual gala, highlighting a number of small businesses within the Midway community. I specifically want to highlight a couple of the awardees from my district who were honored this year. The Small Business of the Year went to the Dual Citizen Brewing company location. And the Nonprofit of the Year went to the International Institute of Minnesota. And so it was just great to see a number of small business owners coming together, recognizing the work that they're continuing to do, especially in these tough times, and celebrating how we can continue to grow economically in the Midway area. I attended the Capitol Commons Community Hub with a number of colleagues here. And one thing I want to highlight with this space, which I think is fantastic, is that it's a real opportunity for us as an organization to leverage it more, since it is right there in the community. So one thing that I want to really challenge us to do, whether it's in public health or mental health or a number of the different departments within Ramsey County, to leverage this space and really use this space as a way to connect more to the community, because it is in a location that really desires that type of attention and deserves the type of attention. So want to really stress that point as we think of using that space in the future. Yesterday, I had a chance to have my monthly meeting in collaboration with St. Paul City Council Ward 4 for the Snelling and University Partners Working Group that we have. For yesterday's meeting, we had the City of St. Paul's Department of Safety and Inspections come and give an update around the CVS at the University and Snelling intersection. Demolition for that CVS is expected in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. And our office is working in collaboration with the Ward 4 office on an FAQ sheet, just to make sure that residents and businesses around that CVS know of what to expect, just setting expectations on what's to come once the day arrives when it will be demolished, as well as the weeks and months afterwards with that empty space sitting there as we determine what's next for that particular location. And then lastly, I will highlight that yesterday I had a chance to attend this small business roundtable that was held, hosted by the West Side Community Organization and St. Paul Mayor's Office, as well as City Council Wards Offices 2, 5, and 6. And it was a discussion about the impacts of Operation Metro Surge on our small and immigrant-owned businesses. And it was really eye-opening, even more so just to hear from our immigrant-owned small businesses on the guidance and the resources that they need. And for many of them, as we discussed last week, calling out the inaction from our philanthropic partners, from our corporate business partners, and ideas on how they would like to see these entities step up. And so I know that the mayor's office was there and was diligently taking notes, and so hopefully we will see more coming out of that meeting from last night. And then the last thing that I'll do, last week, Commissioner Moran kicked off Black History Month and provided some information and insights just to commemorate this month. And so she's asked that we kind of tag team it. And so I have a little presentation, like 2 minutes, that I want to share as well to celebrate Black History Month. And today I wanted to specifically highlight the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was founded in 1966 in Oakland, California by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale at a time when black communities were facing police brutality, economic neglect, and systemic exclusion from political power. Popular memory often reduces the Panthers to images of leather jackets, guns, and confrontation, but that picture is incomplete and in many ways intentionally distorted. From the beginning, the Black Panther Party was framed by the U.S. government as a dangerous extremist organization. The FBI labeled them a major internal threat and worked actively to surveil, disrupt, and dismantle the party. This labeling mattered. Once a movement is labeled as violent or terroristic, its political demands can be dismissed without being addressed. We still see versions of this today, when peaceful protesters like those opposing ICE operations in Minnesota and elsewhere are portrayed as threats rather than as community members exercising their right to dissent. But the reality of the Black Panther Party was far more complex and far more grounded in community care than the stereotypes suggest. While the Panthers did believe in armed defense largely as a response to unchecked police violence, their core mission was community empowerment. Their 10-point plan called for jobs, housing, education, healthcare, and an end to police brutality. These weren't abstract ideas, they were practical demands rooted in everyday survival. Most notably, the Panthers organized extensive survival programs. They ran free breakfast programs for children, feeding tens of thousands of kids every week before school. They opened health clinics, provided testing for sickle cell anemia, organized clothing drives, and created community schools. In fact, the federal government's own school breakfast program expanded only after the success of the Panthers' efforts made it impossible to ignore how effective they were. So understanding the Black Panther Party requires us to look beyond the fear-based narratives of the past. They were not simply a militant group, they were organizers, educators, and caretakers responding to conditions the state had failed to address. So when we revisit their history honestly, we're reminded that movements for justice are often labeled dangerous not because they are violent, but because they are effective and because they challenge who is allowed to have power, safety, and dignity. And so I wanted to just take this moment as we are working through and going through Black History Month to pause and lift up and maybe even dispel some misinformation as it regards to this particular movement and the impact that they had on our community. So thank you.
Okay, I will be quick. So last week I attended the NACO EELU meeting. It was very standard. It was the proposed interim resolutions that we went through for preparation for a couple weeks when we were at NACO. I too also attended the Community Hub Open House event. I just want to thank the Vitality Project that's led by our Ramsey County Sheriff's Department in partnership with the Capital Area Architectural and Planning Board and the City of St. Paul and other local partners for their great work. We had the WIB meeting on Wednesday as well, so it was pretty standard, reviewed financial budgets. The 2026 WIB budget was approved. Policy priorities remain aligned with the Minnesota Association of Workforce Boards, including continued advocacy for sustained funding to the state dislocated worker program and flexibility to local work boards to design programs that meet regional employer and job seeker needs. The board also reviewed strategic initiatives, including the Power Within Us program, which supports youth and young adults involved in the justice system with employment, training, and wraparound services. And that program is now going to be integrated into Ramsey County's Youth Justice Transformation Initiative. And then a few additional updates included continued recruitment. So for the next Inclusive Workplaces cohort, which is applications are open now until March. Youth employment opportunities through Right Track as they're still taking and seeking employers to host youth. And then planning for the upcoming Green Expo Career Fair. And then I just want to note too that I attended the Barely Open with Great Time and Community on Saturday. Commissioner Jebin Singh and the new mayor of White Bear Lake and I were able to be judges for the best sled, the best group costume, the best individual costume, and unfortunately the District 7 Lumberjacks did not place in any of those.
Next time.
But then I do want to also quickly mention that Maplewood is hosting a community, even with us as the judges.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Maplewood is hosting a community conversation tonight at from 6 to 7:30 at the Maplewood YMCA Community Center. It's on creating a respectful, structured space for community members to share their experiences and concerns around immigration enforcement in their communities. So I encourage you to attend. And with that, Miu.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rena?
Just want to thank Commissioner McMurtry for his history moment.
Yes.
Very informative and educational. Thank you for that. Part of last week, I was out of town at Atlanta with the Atlanta Housing Learning Exchange, which was really, really a good experience. But the networking that happened to me was like part of the best moment of just being there. Because I think so often we find ourselves doing the work that we do in silos. But it was a way to bring us together collectively to learn what's all is happening within the housing industry. So my office had an opportunity to participate in a few things, one being the Guaranteed Income Information Session. So this was discussing focused on how Guaranteed Income Initiative can support economic stability, advance equity, and strengthen long-term outcomes for families and communities. I also attended a briefing on emerging 2026 policies priorities, including the Minnesota Newborn Benefit, which is a proposed prenatal and infant cash program designed to support babies and new parents, and a homeless youth stipend proposal expected to be introduced in 2027 to help close housing gaps for youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. And finally, my office was able to also attend the Capital Area Vitality Project, which is located in my district, which is really looking at the area surrounding the Capitol. And a lot is going to be happening on Rice Street. Let me see. So the Community Vitality Project was led by the Ramsey County Sheriff Office in partnership with the Capital Area Architectural and Planning Board, the City of St. Paul, and local partners. So it's a really nice partnership that's happening here. This place-based initiative focuses on public safety, youth and family programming, neighborhood cleanup, and economic vitality through visible co-creating investment that strengthen community trust. And as I talk about the work that's happening around the community, the Capital Area Community Vitality Project, I just want to send a special thanks to the Sheriff's Office, who was able to come to me and to partner with me in my office to bring his department down the street to Dale Avenue last summer and have a present in that area to kind of like stabilize that area that was being inundated by homelessness, substance use disorder, and mental health, people who are just struggling. But along with that came support services to help individuals alone to create a stronger, safer corner for all, including those small businesses that's on those four corners, and to residents in the area. So I just wanted to just highlight that again, because it's important that we really support our small businesses and to create a place where people can feel safe, be safe, but also get the services that they need. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Following the board meeting, we will have a closed meeting regarding the 2025 litigation report. And then at 1:30, we will have a board workshop, judges, women's group, chaired by Commissioner Singh. And then at 3 o'clock, we'll have a closed meeting chaired by myself, federal action lawsuit summary. We are now adjourned.